what are your reflections after you've probably seen the game again since? And
obviously delighted with the 3 points. There was a lot in the performance that was pleasing. We obviously were very, very good in 2 moments in terms of the goals, and we showed that we were very decisive in them. I thought both the second and third goal were really good. We're starting to see what Ethan and Kenneth bring to the team in terms of their energy to overlap and join the attack. I actually thought it was a very good move up to Ilias's shot for the first goal as well. And I thought we may be unfortunate not to score a fourth when Ilias gets in, but overall, similar to the Middlesbrough game, we were very, very decisive in the final third, and that's the sort of standard we need to show. I thought it was an all-round very good performance against a very good team. The result could have gone either way, but I felt we earned it in terms of the energy and I've looked at the numbers the players put in terms of physically into that game. So there was a lot of pleasing things in our side, you know.
I mean, aside from obviously the win, does it feel like that was closer to what you want from the team overall than what has been earlier in the season?
Yeah, obviously, I think goals and score lines make, a big difference. I think we've been training in a very good way. I can see some of the messages sinking into the team. I'm seeing it more on the pitch. And I think, it's probably par for the course, really, in terms of the time that we've been together and the time we've had on the training pitch as a team. It was always going to take a little while, and it's been slowed down by the fact that we've had some injuries. So no, I was delighted, and fair play to the players, because they've taken a lot the last couple of weeks, in terms of psychologically, with the 2 home games where you create enough to win, you don't take the chances, and then a lot comes off the back of it. And it's all right, we keep talking about being more decisive and stuff like that, but the pressure was on against arguably one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the league, and they delivered. So it's important that we go forward, take confidence from it, but understand why we performed well.
And just with some of the injured boys, I know you said that you're hopeful before the international break. Is that still the case with Jake and Taylor and Luke?
Yeah. So Tyler will be back. Tyler Roberts will be back in the squad tomorrow night. We're not carrying anything. We're training after this today, actually. We're training this afternoon. But as it stands now, no one's got any problems from the weekend. Tyler will be back. Jake and Luke will be back September break, and Taylor will be back straight after. So the big thing for me is if we're in a good place, why would I push Luke and Jake? Albeit I would take them back as quick as I could. But if it means getting them back for a cameo against Stoke, then I'd prefer that if they then get the next 2 weeks to do a mini pre-season again, because that's what the boys are going to have to do. They're going to have to do a mini pre-season when they come back, and the September international break probably comes at a good time for both of them.
Okay. And obviously the window's closing on Thursday. You still confident of bodies coming in as you were on Saturday?
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah. There's nothing right now imminent. I'm going to have a little catch up with the staff straight after this on 1 or 2 bits. Again, when people play over the weekend, the other managers have a roller coaster of emotions as well. And so the goalposts move everywhere. Do you know what I mean? In terms of another club might be willing to let a player go, and then they might have an injury, or they might have a bad result, or someone might come on and they do something, and then all of a sudden the conversation is not as warm as it was on Friday, on a Sunday, from Friday afternoon to Sunday morning. So these things are never an exact science, but we do have 2 or 3 players in our eye line that won't cause us any issues in terms of financially, in terms of the implications moving forward. And we're hopeful that we can certainly do 1 or 2 of them. And it would be nice if we could cover some of the finances, but as I say, this is a safe way. This is very safe in terms of our calculations to do it as well. We're not jeopardizing anything, if that makes sense, Ian. Sorry for the long words. We're not jeopardizing anything.
Okay. Joe Walsh, I know you sort of mentioned you might want to try and get him out on loan. He wasn't around the sort of squad on Saturday. Is that sort of a sign that he might be sort of getting a little loan move somewhere just to help his progress?
No, like, to be fair to Murph and Joe, they've trained ever so well the last few weeks. And obviously Joe was very close to coming on in the home game against Blackpool, because Senny did have a slight issue at half time. Senny decided that he wanted to play on in that game. And I've just looked at the training and I felt that Murph deserves a little bit of oxygen as well, because he's been training very well and obviously had the experience of playing last year. I remember watching the Sheffield United game and thinking he did well for a young boy going in. So they're both the same age, so it's rotating them. Obviously, we're nursing Jordan back from a long-term injury, and he's able to make the bench at the minute, but he's lacking a little bit in game exposure, if we're honest. So I'm not in a rush for either of them to go out, because I know that you could be one injury away from the situation we had last year. So I'm probably a little bit more cautious on that. There's some outfield players that certainly have got options. It's whether the player thinks that option's right, and whether our board and club think that the finance them clubs can give us is more worthwhile the player staying in case we have injuries, or do we let them go out and play? So it's there's a lot going on in the background at the minute, and obviously the games get in the way of the discussions, if you like, because obviously we just played Watford. We were in yesterday for recovery, and then straight away you're thinking about Hull. So I will be having them conversations again this afternoon. So I'm sure if there's anything to report by the time we next speak, that will be much more clearer.
Mick, just on the result there at the weekend coming, when you got pegged back to 1-1, the reply almost immediately to get the goal within 7 minutes to go back into lead as well. That showed a real sort of that real grit to avert from a setback.
Yeah, I was delighted with that. Really, really delighted, because obviously you're going away there to Watford and it's a big game and you get your noses in front. They go and equalise, and I thought it was handball. So I was looking at how our team reacted to that, and we scored a fantastic goal. Really, really good team goal. I think you saw everything that Ethan Laird brings to our team in that, in terms of his running power, but also his intelligence. When he gets into crossing positions, he doesn't cross loose. He tries to pick people out. And I think I'm delighted with Ethan. And you're right. And then again, you come in 2-1 at half time. They go and score again. Is it a foul? I tend to think it is. I think if it was VAR, it would have been a foul. So the players have got that going on as well, Jim, where they feel a bit aggrieved, but they stayed with it. They recomposed themselves, and then they went and took the game to Watford and got the winner. So there was a lot that came out of the weekend to be pleased about, both as staff, but also the players and the fans as well.
And I suppose, Mick, in terms of two of your players now, Olamide Shodipo and Sinclair Armstrong, both have been playing prominent roles off the bench. Olamide, 4 appearances, and Sinclair, 5 appearances. Are they really pushing for that, pushing hard for appearance in the starting 11? They're supposed to 2. Sinclair's a young Irish player. Oladibe has been around for a while, but they seem to be in your thoughts anyway in terms of the first team.
Yeah, well, I think it's lovely for the club in general to have 2 boys that have played in our academy teams impacting the first team this year. Obviously, Mide's been out on loan for a couple of years now, and it was important that I gave him an opportunity. In moments, he's done very, very good things. He hasn't, at the moment, come away with that goal or assist, but he's certainly had opportunities to, and he's trained very well. Sinclair's had a wonderful start to the season in terms of his exposure in the last month or so, and the way that the fans have taken to him. I thought he come on and did a really good job for us at the weekend as well. So they're both there in the background. Obviously, Mide's been a starter at this club, and with Sinclair, I think we're getting everything we can out of Sinclair at the moment. I was delighted for him at the weekend, because when he has come on recently, he came on, and although he's done some good things, we never got the result as a team, the result that we desired. And he came on at the weekend and did a bit more of a defensive role for the team than an attacking one. And the outcome was we won. And so I said to him afterwards, so no more tears at the end of the game. I want to see more smiles. And obviously it was a nice moment that we won the game, and we celebrated there in front of our travelling support. It was a lovely place to be at 10-5 Vicarage Road on Saturday.
And I suppose, Mick, in terms of your opponent's hull, they have an overhaul in terms of their players this year, roughly 10 or 11 new signings. But they have been one of the stories of the championship so far in terms of the amount of goals they are scoring. They seem to be a team that are full of goals at the moment. So to combat Hull, I suppose, really is to stop that sort of, the first goal is going to be so crucial, because they seem to be a team, if they get their swagger going at all, one goal can become 2 or 3 fairly fast.
Well, Shota, he was known for that as a player himself, wasn't he? He was a fantastic player. So I'm sure as very similar to John Dole Thomason, the first game of the season, when a manager is a former centre forward, you know that their team's going to have a reference of playing into the forward, getting crosses, having people, committing numbers in the final third. I think there'll be goals in this game, because we've scored goals as well. 3 against Middlesbrough, 2 up at Sunderland, 3 against Watford. So we're a team that's got goals in us, and certainly they are as well. Their games have been packed with goals. Their last 2 games, 5 goals at the weekend, and the week before 7 goals against with West Brom. So famous last words, it'll be 0-0 now, won't it? But let's hope that it's a game full of goals and entertainment, because deep down, that's what everybody wants to see. They want to see a lot of goals, but ultimately want to see a QPR win at the end of it.
And finally, for me, the business take bringing in Leon Balogun, the former Rangers defender. How did that come about on your radar? Was that a player on your shortlist for a while now?
The moment I knew that Rangers didn't renew with Leon, we were trying to get the deal done. So it's one that we've been trying to do all summer. So I'm delighted to have him. I wanted the option of playing a back 3 or back 4. I couldn't practice to play a back 3, because I felt I only had 3 experienced centre halves in Jake, Jimmy and Rob. And if I'd have done that and we'd have got an injury, then I'd have spent all pre-season working on something I couldn't have used. So that was a good call, because after that first game of the season, we lost Jake for 6 weeks. So I only had Jimmy or Rob. Other than that, I wouldn't say I haven't only got them, but I've got young boys who are untested at the championship level behind them. So I've only had Jimmy or Rob for the last 6 or 7 games, and touch wood, they haven't had a problem. But if they had a problem, we were going to be throwing in a very young centre half into a team and a season where we hadn't settled down yet. Having Leon here now is fantastic in terms of his experience, his international experience, his experience of playing in big European games. So the last 2 games he was involved in for Rangers was the Europa League final and the Scottish Cup final. So he's coming out of games like that, where the expectation at a club like Glasgow Rangers is absolutely enormous for every single game. And so I want someone coming in here and pushing those standards. Leon's got to earn his way. Nothing's given. And I've explained that to Jimmy, Jake and Rob at the start of pre-season. There's no gimmies here. You have to fight and you have to play well. And Leon comes into that equation as well. I like the idea of having competition. Similar like last week when I'm talking about the midfield, there's been no competition. There's only been those midfielders. And I think for those midfielders as well, if you add some competition with Luke getting fit and Taylor getting fit, then you have to be better to keep your shirt. And I think Sinclair's forcing Chris and Ilias to do as well as what they're doing, and Lyndon to work as hard as what he is, because we're starting to get some competition, and Ethan and Kenneth are playing well because Ozzy's breathing down their neck and Albert's just scored. So I think we're starting to get where a squad should look like. It shouldn't just be 11 or 12 and the others. It should be 16 or 17 players all pushing to start. And at the centre-back position, Leon certainly does that for us.